The RPG gunner had 3 seconds to live. He just didn't know it yet. 940 meters downrange, crouched behind a boulder with a warhead across his shoulder. He was seconds from turning 8 Navy SEALs into a memory. His partner fed the round into the launcher. Their hands moved with practiced efficiency. They'd done this before, but they'd never been watched by Staff Sergeant Kira Hansen from her hide on the ridge. Invisible against the shale and scrub brush, Kira's finger touched the trigger. Her breathing had already stopped. The crosshairs settled on center mass. The wind held steady at 5 knots, left to right. She'd been told to observe only, to watch, not engage, to let the men handle the real work. She'd been underestimated her entire career, and in about the seconds that was going to save 8 lives. This is the true story of the woman who became a ghost in the mountains of Afghanistan, and the single firefight that changed special operations forever. This is Silent Warriors. August 14, 2019, Fort Joist, Kuna Province, Afghanistan, 6:45 am. The Chinook's rotors beat the air into submission, throwing dust devils across the landing zone like angry spirits. Through the brown haze, a figure emerged, smaller than expected, carrying a rucksack that looked too heavy and a rifle case that looked too long. Staff Sergeant Kira Hansen's boots hit the gravel with quiet purpose. At 5'3" and 130 pounds, she looked like someone's kid sister who'd wandered onto a military base by mistake. The Navy corpsman unloading supply crates glanced at her shoulder patch, saw the black tab stitched above her name, Sniper. His eyebrows went up. Then he looked at the hard case in her left hand, the one with MRAD stenciled on the side, and muttered to his buddy, probably just another intel geek delivering optics for the SEALs. Kira heard him. She always heard them. She said nothing, adjusted the 80 pounds of gear on her back, and kept walking. Words had never proven anything. The rifle would speak for her soon enough. Her orders were crystal clear. She'd been attached as Overwatch support to SEAL teammate Neptune, element for a high-value target raid in the upper Kuna valleys. The mission had been greenlit by JSOC, routed through Army Special Operations Command, and dropped into the lap of Task Force Viper. On paper, it was seamless. In reality, she was about to walk into a room full of men who'd already decided she didn't belong. The operations center was a climate-controlled tent that smelled like coffee, sweat, and testosterone. Kira arrived at 7:15 am, exactly on time. Her uniform clean, her hair pulled tight in a regulation bun, her rifle case and tablet held like they belonged to someone twice her size. The briefing was already underway. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Logan stood at the head of the table. A man looked like a refrigerator with a personality to match. Around him sat a dozen SEALs in dark t-shirts and ball caps. Men who'd run 100 missions together, who trusted each other with their lives, who didn't need some stranger telling them how to do their jobs. Especially not a stranger who looked like she should be teaching middle school. A young Army lieutenant from the Intel section tried to introduce her. Gentlemen, this is Staff Sergeant Hansen. She'll be providing Sniper Overwatch 4. Great, Chief Logan said, not looking up from the map. Another data pusher. The room chuckled. Not mean-spirited, exactly. Just dismissive. The kind of laugh that says, we'll humor you, but don't get in our way. Kira stood perfectly still. She'd been here before. Different faces say move it. She knew how this worked. You don't fight for respect in a briefing room. You earn it downrange. So she waited, listened, took notes, and when the operations captain pointed to the map and asked if she had anything to add, she spoke clearly, calmly, and only once. The Wadi at Checkpoint Delta. She highlighted it on her tablet, then projected it onto the screen. ISR footage from 2 nights prior shows a 2-man patrol using it for Overwatch. The terrain creates a natural choke point, narrow walls, limited escape angles. If you push through there and make contact, you'll be bottlenecked with nowhere to go. Silence. Chief Logan leaned back in his chair, arms folded across his chest. He glanced at her, then back at the screen. The look said everything. Thanks for the geography lesson, sweetheart. We've run this route twice, he said evenly. If it gets hot, we'll adjust. We don't need Intel playing warfighter. His tone wasn't cruel. That was almost worse. It was polite disinterest. The kind that says, your opinion has been noted and will be promptly ignored. The briefing moved on. Kira's threat assessment stayed on the screen for maybe 10 seconds before it was cleared, replaced by the primary assault overlay. Nobody wrote it down. Nobody asked follow-up questions. After the session ended, she approached the table quietly and handed Chief Logan a printed copy of her terrain analysis. He barely glanced at it. Appreciate the effort, Sergeant. He set it down without reading it. Kira didn't argue, didn't push. She just folded the paper, slipped it back into her binder, and walked out of the tent into the brutal Afghan sun. Let them doubt, she thought. The math doesn't care. By 3:30 p.m., Kira was alone, exactly where she wanted to be. She'd humped 3 miles uphill with 65 pounds of gear, a bolt-action rifle, and enough ammunition to hold off a small army. The climb was brutal loose shale, 110-degree heat, and a gradient steep enough to make her calves scream. But she moved with the rhythm of someone who'd done this 1,000 times. No music, no conversation, just breath, step, balance, repeat. Of echoes at 940 meters. Target compound, perched on a ridgeline that overlooked the entire valley like a hawk's nest. From here, she could see everything. The dry riverbed that bottlenecked the approach. The Soviet-era BTR rusting near the north wall. The open ground that gave her the cleanest field of fire. It was perfect. She dropped her pack, pulled out her range card notebook, and got to work. For the next 2 hours, Kira built her hide. Not the Hollywood version with netting and camouflage paint, but the real thing, patient, invisible, effective. She used jute fabric and scrub branches to break up her rifle's outline, packed loose dirt behind her rack to kill her silhouette, and positioned herself in a shallow depression that made her disappear against the ridge. Then came the math. Distance to target, 940 meters. Wind, steady at 4 knots, west to east. Temperature, 89 degrees Fahrenheit. Barometric pressure, 29.87 and dropping. She pulled out her Kestrel weather meter, logged the data, and cross-referenced it with her dope card A. Laminated chart covered in handwritten notes, corrections, and ballistic calculations refined over years of shooting. Then she ran the numbers again and again, because out here, math wasn't theoretical. It was life and death. By 8:15 p.m., she was locked in, motionless, silent, her body pressed into the earth like she'd grown there. The Barrett Rad lay steady on its bipod, chambered in .30 Norma Magnum, zeroed at 100 meters but adjusted for the shots that mattered. 940. Her Night Force ATACR scope was dialed. Her cheek weld was solid, and her breathing had slowed to the rhythm of someone who could wait forever. Because that's what snipers do. They wait. I was crawled by. Her neck ached. Her fingers went numb. She didn't move. Movement gave away position faster than a muzzle flash. Instead, she rotated her ankles in micro movements. Depth blood flowing. Stayed mission ready. At 11:40 p.m. She was locked in, motionless, silent. Her body pressed into the earth like she'd grown there. The Barrett Rad lay steady on its bipod, chambered in .30 Norma Magnum, zeroed at 100 meters but adjusted for the shots that mattered. 940. Her Night Force ATACR scope was dialed. Her cheek weld was solid, and her breathing had slowed to the rhythm of someone who could wait forever. Because that's what snipers do. They wait. I was crawled by. Her neck ached. Her fingers went numb. She didn't move. Movement gave away position faster than a muzzle flash. Instead, she rotated her ankles in micro movements. Kept blood flowing. Stayed mission ready. At 11:40 p.m., she took 3 small sips of warm water from her camelback and ate half a protein bar. She didn't unwrap it all the way waste attracted insects and singed her. The seals wouldn't move until well after midnight. But Kira was already locked into her scope, marking doorways, blind corners, covered approaches. She sketched them in her notebook with the precision of an architect designing a kill zone, because that's what this valley had become. And when the sun rose, it would belong to her. 4:38 a.m. The world was still dark when Neptune element moved into position. Kira watched them through her scope, 8 shadows gliding through the valley like wolves. They moved well low, fast, disciplined. Chief Logan led from the front, his rifle up, his team stacked tight behind him. They had no idea what was waiting. At 4:42 a.m., the first shot cracked across the valley. Not hers, theirs. An AK-47 barked from the ridgeline opposite her position, followed by another, then another. Muzzle flashes lit up the darkness like fireflies from hell. The SEALs dropped into cover behind the rusted BTR, returning fire, but they were pinned. Kira's heart rate didn't change. She'd been expecting this. Her scope swept left. Their 2 fighters with BKM machine guns, elevated on a rock ledge, pouring fire down onto the SEAL's position. She marked them, held them in her mental map. Then her scope moved right. And that's when she saw him, the RPG gunner. He was crouched behind a split boulder, maybe 30 meters from the SEALs, his partner feeding a warhead into the launcher. In 5 seconds, maybe less, that rocket would turn the BTR into a crematorium. Kira's radio crackled. Neptune 2, taking fire. Heavy contact. Northeast ridge. Copy. Hold position. Chief is hit. Chief is down. Her finger moved to the trigger. The rules of engagement were clear. Observe and report. Do not engage unless American lives are in imminent danger. She looked through the scope. The RPG was loaded. The gunner was kneeling. His finger was on the trigger. Kira exhaled slowly. Imminent enough. The Barrett kicked into her shoulder with a suppressed thump. Not silent, but quiet enough that the sound blended into the chaos below. 940 meters downrange. The RPG gunner's chest exploded. He dropped like a puppet with cut strings, the launcher clattering onto the rocks. His partner froze, staring at the body, his brain trying to process what just happened. Kira's second shot answered the question. The assistant gunner folded backward, dead before he hit the ground. She didn't blink, just worked the bolt, chambered a new round, and shifted left. The PKM gunners were still firing, still unaware they were being hunted. Kira adjusted for elevation. They were 10 feet higher than the RPG team and calculated her hold, 3.1 mils. Wind steady. She fired. The first gunner spun sideways and tumbled off the ledge, his weapon clattering down the rocks like a broken toy. The second gunner turned, searching for the threat, his eyes scanning the wrong ridge. Kira's next round found him through the neck. And just like that, the ambush started to crumble. 4:47 a.m. Kira was no longer thinking, she was executing. Her world had collapsed into a 12-inch circle of glass and crosshairs. Every breath was controlled, every movement was calculated. The rifle had become an extension of her body, and the valley below had become a geometry problem with human variables. 2 fighters sprinted toward a drainage ditch on the eastern edge of the compound. She led the first one slightly, squeezed the trigger, and watched him crumple mid-stride. The second dove for cover behind a low mud wall. Mistake. She'd ranged that wall during daylight. It was 18 inches thick, solid enough to stop small arms fire, but not a .30 Norma Magnum, traveling at 3,000 feet per second. The round punched through the clay like it wasn't there, and took the fighter in the lower spine. Neptune 2, we can't move without suppression. The voice on the radio was tight. Control panic. Can you cover us? Kira's reply was calm. Already on it. Move now. She shifted her scope northeast, where 4 more fighters had taken position behind a rock outcrop. From ground level, they were invisible. From Kira's elevated angle, she could see under the overhang. 1 shot, then another, then a third. 3 bodies. Zero hesitation. The 4th fighter tried to return fire, spraying wildly uphill with an 8K. He hit nothing but rocks and sky. KII centered the reticle on his chest and pressed the trigger. He stopped shooting. She ejected the empty magazine, reached into her side pouch, and slid a fresh one home. Her movements were smooth, automatic, burned into muscle memory from 10,000 repetitions on ranges from Georgia to Germany. At 4:51 am, she spotted 2 more hostiles bounding through a dry irrigation ditch. They were moving fast, staying low, almost invisible in the Pioidon darkness. Almost. Kira angled her rifle slightly and aimed not at the men, but at the smooth boulder in front of them. She fired. The round hit the rock at a precise angle and ricocheted downward, striking the lead runner just above the hip. The second man froze, confused, his brain trying to understand how a bullet had just bent around cover. Kira didn't give him time to figure it out. 2 seconds later, he dropped beside his partner. The enemy fighters were scattering now, their coordination shattered. Some tried to retreat, others hunkered down, too terrified to move. Kira tracked them all, her scope sweeping the valley like a lighthouse beam cutting through fog. 1 fighter crawled toward a goat pen. She marked him, but didn't fire. Not yet. Another tried to low crawl through a dry wash. She waited 3 seconds, let him think he was safe, then fired the moment his helmet crested the lip. Instant, silent, final. Neptune 2, we're moving. 15 seconds to exfil point. Copy, keep moving, you're covered. And she meant it, because for the next 60 seconds, nothing in that valley moved without her permission. 6:25 am, the medevac birds were gone, their rotors fading into the pale morning sky. The compound was quiet now, the only sounds the low murmur of debriefs and the metallic click of gear. Being repacked, Kira sat cross-legged beside a folding table, her Barrett disassembled on a cloth in front of her. She ran a bore snake through the barrel with patient precision, cleaning carbon fouling that smelled like burnt powder and old ghosts. She hadn't slept in 24 hours. Didn't matter. The rifle came first. Boots crunched on gravel behind her. She didn't look up. Chief Logan stood there, his head wrapped in gauze, one eye swollen shut. his left arm in a sling. For a long moment, he just stood there, holding his helmet by the chin strap, unsure of what to say. Finally, his voice came out low and rough. "I was wrong about you." Kira kept cleaning, didn't respond. "That shooting." He paused, searching for words. "At those ranges, under pressure, in the dark. I've never seen anything like it." She set the rifle down gently, then looked up at him. Her expression wasn't angry or triumphant, just steady. "It was never about being the best, Chief. It was about bringing you home." Logan nodded slowly. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say more, then closed it. Some things didn't need words. He turned and walked away, limping slightly, and Kira went back to her rifle. No handshake, no speech, no ceremony, just understanding. Quiet, earned, and real. At 7:30 a.m., Kira stood in the admin tent while Colonel Danner slid a folder across the desk. "Silver Star," he said simply. "The write-up is solid. We'll have a ceremony next quarter. DXC wants it on the books." Kira shook her head once. "No ceremony, sir. Please, just process it quietly." Danner blinked, surprised, but signed the paperwork without argument. That should have been the end of it. But stories like this don't stay quiet forever. Within a month, the story had spread through the special operations community like wildfire. Not through press releases or medal ceremonies, but through after-action reports and quiet conversations between operators who'd been there. Neptune Element survived a full-scale ambush with minimal casualties. The key variable was a lone Overwatch asset with eyes, patience, and precision. The phrase started appearing in planning documents. "We need another Hansen." 6 weeks later, SOCOM revised its internal guidance on sniper attachments for joint operations. Gender wasn't scrubbed from the language. It just stopped being a consideration. Kira deployed twice more over the next 2 years. Same mountains, same rifle, different reception. Teams stopped brushing past her in briefings. They listened. One E7 from an ODA team handed her his route plan and said, "I trust your mouth more than mine." No jokes, no sarcasm, just respect. In her final tour, she ran a 3-woman Overwatch cell supporting rotating SOF teams across the eastern provinces. Not ceremonial, operational, live fire, real missions. When she rotated stateside, no one held a banner, no news cameras waited. She walked up the tarmac the same way she'd arrived, rifle case in one hand, pack on her back, dust on her boots. At the range on base, someone had stenciled a quote on the inside of the tower wall. No attribution, just the words. "Don't tell her she can't." She smiled when she saw it. Then she loaded her mags and kept shooting. 8 months later, Kira sat alone in her apartment. The Barrett disassembled under soft lamplight. Her fingers moved slowly across the bolt, not to clean it, but to remember. Her father used to say that math never cared who you were, that wind, gravity, and time treated every shooter the same. She believed him more now than ever. Combat didn't care about size, volume, or swagger. It cared about discipline, stillness, and listening when others didn't. Pride didn't protect you out there. Ego got people killed. What kept others breathing was the work done before the fight. The hours no one saw, the calculations made with dirt under your nails and exhaustion behind your eyes. She'd been underestimated in every unit she entered, laughed at, passed over, misjudged. Not because she lacked the skills, but because someone saw a quiet woman and thought soft. But the rifle never judged. It just asked one question: "Can you make the shot?" And every single time, her answer was the same. She reassembled the bolt with a quiet click, set the rifle back in its case, and closed the lid. Some stories didn't end with flags waving or crowds cheering. Some ended with a whisper and a woman walking away, still carrying the weight, still doing the work, still invisible to everyone except the ones who owed her their lives. And that was enough. That was the story of Staff Sergeant Kira Hansen, the sniper who rewrote the rules by following them better than anyone else. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to Silent Warriors. We bring you the untold stories of the men and women who serve in silence, fight in shadows, and ask for nothing in return. Drop a comment and let us know what's the most powerful lesson you took from Kira's story. Thanks for listening. Stay strong, stay silent, stay warrior.